I was going to come to before, and then we'll go on to another question. Yes, sir.
Is part of the problem the very narrow field that politicians tend to be drawn from? There was something the other day released from the House of Commons that said 57, so around about just under 10% of current MPs had family connections who had been MPs in the past. That seems a massive skew. Is inbreeding and nepotism the problem?
OK, on which happy note, let's go on to another question. From Moira Brodie, please. Moira Brodie.
The OECD reports that our best maths pupils are lagging behind the poorest Chinese students. Should we adopt Chinese-style teaching to raise our standards?
Yes, this was the latest attack on British education, and in particular pointing out that in maths, China did unbelievably well and we did unbelievably badly. Jeanette Winterson.
Yes, you ought to try the little test online. It's really easy. I mean, if our children are so bad at maths, as bad as this test would suggest, because it's a very simple test, then yes, we're in trouble. The test that everybody had to do. Look, if I can get 90%, anybody can.
You've done it, have you?
Yeah, I did. So it's a problem. But, you know, what do we want our children to be? How do we want our children to learn? You know, we need to have teachers that we can respect as a society and that we can teach our children to respect. All the systems in the world won't make any difference unless we have teachers who are passionate, interested, excited in the classroom and can make children think, I want to learn this, you know, this is for me. It's no good just sitting there and having the rote learning, the drill learning. You know, you look at I've been to China, I don't know how many of you have, and, you know, you go into some schools and you don't feel that they are particularly happy places to be. You know, you don't...
I don't want to stop you halfway, but the Education Minister went to China and said that they have a quote her, a can-do attitude to maths, contrasting with our anti-maths culture, and unless we change our philosophy and get better at maths, we'll suffer economic decline. That was Liz Truss's words.
Well, we won't.
Just wrong.
No, I think
yes, I think it is.
Right.
I think it is wrong. Of course, we want children to be interested in all subjects, not just maths. But we can only do that through quality teaching. Now, at present, only as far as I know, only 5% of teachers have maths degrees. So this is something that we need to change. A lot of teachers are having to teach maths when it's not particularly their main subject, their primary subject. So that's something that we have to alter. Of course, we do. But really, I want to get the excitement into the classroom, and that's about supporting teachers and supporting schools. It's not about going to look at systems and bring them back wholesale and force them here on our children. You know, we're not Chinese, we're very different. It's a different culture, a different country, and we need to really respect those differences and not try and make our children be something they cannot be.
This is just being alarmist, really, you're saying, these comparisons?
I think it's alarmist, yeah.
OK. One like that. In the back row, yes.
Having worked in an international language school, particularly with Chinese students and having conversed with them, they have actually said that while they value the education, they don't like the manner in which it's taught. They have very long days, they have very little control over what they learn and which interests they follow, and actually many of them aspire to come here to actually widen their what they're allowed to study. And they view our summer schools and where they come here to learn English as a way to actually have a choice in what they learn and their education, which our education system does allow.
Do you think there's a danger of being complacent about this disparity on mathematics, or do you think it's an irrelevancy yourself?
Yes, we do need to raise standards. We know that, but then I think it's also, we need to interest people. It's not necessarily the, you know, the hard line, you will study this, sit down and study this for 2 hours. I think we need to interest people in the subject, rather than just sort of ram it down their throats.
Roger Scruton, what did you make of the report?
Well, I was not surprised by it, and I agree with Janet's basic thought that there are not enough qualified teachers in the field of mathematics in our country. That's not only true of schools, it's true of universities too. People just do not read mathematics. They don't go for the hard subjects like that anymore. And that is part of, not of an anti-mathematics culture, but a culture of indolence at the tertiary level. People go to university, many people, in order to relax for a few years. You know,
Roger, they're running up huge debts. Who's going to relax when they've got 50 grand that they owe as soon as they come out? That's not very relaxing to come out of university and owe 50,000.
It's not a great debt when you consider the amount of pleasure that it represents. and the fact is that...
Just let me get this straight. You really think that people are running up... They're paying £9,000 a year plus supporting themselves just to doss about and do easy subjects, and they're coming out with 50,000's worth of debt and thinking, well, that's worth it. I can't afford a house. I'll have to work till I'm 70. I've got no pension, but never mind.
It's not quite as bad as you're implying. Many of these students are actually from the wealthy middle classes who are not running up debts or passing those debts on to their parents. The fact is that when given the choice to, between reading for a degree in mathematics and reading for a degree in media studies or whatever, they will take the second
But you're
option.
a philosopher.
Right.
What's that got to do with it?
Well,
he's a philosopher.
he's a philosopher.
Well, he
Philosophy
worked
is a
hard.
very hard
Is
subject.
that an easy subject or a hard subject?
Well, it depends. It depends, Roger, doesn't it?
He never had a drink and he never stayed out late. The woman at the very back there. Yes.
I just want to say that some of those statistics might mask other degrees that people have, such as engineering and physics, where you have a very, very high level of maths.
The man in pink there.
I think we're all very good at making excuses. I've got a 7-year-old daughter, and if she comes out of school not well up to speed with mathematics, frankly, I think the school has failed her, and I think I failed her as a parent as well.
Okay. Philip Hammond.
Well, I'm not sure that importing a Chinese system wholesale would be the solution, and I would certainly not want to stamp out of our children the sort of questioning, creative approach that we value, and which I think the Chinese system very definitely doesn't value and actively discourages. But we should still be hearing an alarm bell ringing about not just maths, but engineering, sciences, because whether we like it or not, we are competing with countries like China, the emerging nations of Southeast Asia, and if we want our economy to prosper in the future, we want people to have the kind of good jobs, opportunities for work, abilities to feed their families, provide for their families, that we've all been talking about earlier on this evening, we have to make sure that the next generation is equipped with the skills that they will need. And we are beginning, I think, to make some progress. We're seeing more children taking the, quotes, hard subjects in schools, and more people looking to study the maths, science, engineering subjects at university. But I think we've got to do it in a British way, which combines the discipline of those subjects with the sort of creativity and the inquiring approach that makes us what we are.
And you agree? You clearly agree with him.
May I suggest that if Mr Gove stops moving the goalposts and getting Ofsted to change its ratings, teachers could teach.
All right. Liz Kendall.
I think we do need to be worried about where we are in terms of maths. Having those basic skills is vital. We do need to have more teachers who are properly trained in that, and Labour introduced something called Teach First, which was getting the best and the brightest graduates involved, and this government's continued it. But I want to come to the essence of how you really grasp kids' minds and brains and inspire them. And the best teachers that I've seen don't use a one-size-fits-all. They find out what is the thing that excites and motivates that child. They understand if we can show how maths fits into a job that's involved in design or technology or engineering, if you can bring in people from those professions to kids from the poorest backgrounds who's probably never met an engineer, and to say, if you do maths, you can have this kind of an exciting job. I saw a brilliant thing in doing this in a primary school in my constituency, Parks Primary, that was getting engineers into the kids who didn't have those aspirations because they'd never seen anyone with a job like that, and they suddenly realised that'll be good. That'll be why it's worth doing maths. And it was the teachers who understood that, child by child, and that's the passion we all need to inspire.
Okay. And you stay on the right-hand side there, yes.
But would Liz agree, then, that it would be an advantage to let engineers teach without necessarily having to go forward for an extra degree before they can get into the classroom?
Well, do you think... I don't know, sorry, how old you are or whether you've been to college or university, have you?
Yeah, I've been to university.
And would you feel confident just to go straight in... Would you think it would be good just to go straight into a classroom without any proper follow-up to give you the teaching and skills? Do you think you'd be able to do that?
I think that professionals that have worked in an industry for a long period of time, have developed the incredible skills, should have the opportunity to get back into the classroom and really share their knowledge with students, the next generation. They're the most inspirational people that are around, and I think they should be allowed to get back into the classroom.
Charles Kennedy.
Well, hands up, I hated maths at school. I was hopeless at it. I loved English. I was quite good at that. And would you believe I ended up with a university degree which was 50% in English and 50% in moral philosophy, stimulated along the way by the Regius Professor at Glasgow University of those days, who's a colleague and well known to Roger, Professor Robin Downey, who introduced us to this intellectually stimulating gentleman that it's a privilege to be in the panel with tonight. Although I do recognise some of the descriptions, Roger, that you give about undergraduate life, I have to say. At least of 30 years ago.
That was the difference.
Slightly different today.
And what about China and maths?
China. Well...
just for a moment, reverting to the question.
Yeah. I think we're right, and I mean, sitting, as I have been involved at Glasgow University as rector over the last 6 years, sitting at the university court, so typical of all the universities, St Andrews will be the same, Oxford's the same, the internationalisation of education is going full guns ahead, and we've got to keep up with it as a country in terms of getting students in, but also not falling behind. And I think on the maths and the sciences, we've really got our work cut out to keep pace. But I don't think we can do it by grafting a different culture onto us. I just don't think that'll work.
Who replaced you as rector?
It was that chap Snowden, who is, you know...
Were the successor, is that?
Oh, well, the students chose me twice, so they have impeccable taste when it comes to choosing a rector.
Roger.
I want to go back to what the young man at the back mentioned earlier about the need to get people into the schools who can teach, who have expertise in subjects which we're lacking. And I think that he was right to say that this requirement that they have a special extra teaching qualification is keeping those professionals out of the schools, keeping these engineers from coming back into the education system. So I was surprised, since you admired the whole Teach First initiative, which your party introduced, that you didn't see that as actually the way forward.
I did.
Yeah.
That's what I said.
Right, so, but now you want to introduce professional qualifications.
You don't want to... really, the whole point of that is that it enables people to enter the school without getting a qualification.
But there could be a fast track, couldn't there? We could design something whereby people who've been in industry could come forward, maybe have 3 months, just to know to face the horrors in the classroom.
I'm going to take a couple more points. You, sir, over there, first of all, just briefly, if you would.
I think we shouldn't beat ourselves up so much.
Right.
You only used to watch the BAFTAs this week to see the world-leading technicians that this country is producing, transforming the film industry.
OK, and the woman over there.
It doesn't matter how knowledgeable you are in your subject. If you don't have the skills to impart that wisdom and teach correctly, it doesn't matter. You've got to have the teaching skills.
OK, yeah. Right, we've got to stop. There are a lot of you... I'm sorry, I know a lot of you are still waiting to get in, but our hour is up here, and so we better stop. We're going to be in Newport in Wales next week, and the week after that we're going to be in Barking in East London, so if you can come either to Newport or Barking, the way to get to us is to apply with the address on the website there, or call us at 0330 123 9988. As ever, if you're listening on Radio 5 Live, the debate goes on in Question Time, Extra Time, but from here it's my pleasure to thank our panel very much indeed, and all of you who came to take part in the programme in Swindon. Until next Thursday from Question Time, good night.
Paul Newman relives his hotshot days as a pool hustler thanks to a young Tom Cruise. Our late film The Colour of Money, next on BBC One.